President, please be seated. The court is back in session, and the chamber will start to hear a witness to TCW 1009. And there is a duty counsel, Moon Sawan, with the witness. Court officer, please, before the chamber invites the witness and the duty counsel into the courtroom, the chamber would like to issue an oral ruling on documents, document E382. The International Co-Prosecutor's motion E382 requested that the chamber hear witness to TCW 1010 and to admit two TCW 1010's statements, E319/23.3.34 and E319/23.3.36 in relation to the subtopic on treatment of the Vietnamese. In its memorandum E380/1, the trial chamber denied the request to hear to TCW 1010 without ruling on the statements. The International Co-Prosecutor has today notified the trial chamber through an email that he might use two TCW 1010's two statements while examining upcoming witness to TCW 1009 and requests the chamber's authorization to do so. The trial chamber notes that no party objected to the E382 request to admit these statements into evidence and grants this request pursuant to Internal Rule 87.4 with written reasons to follow. The chamber now instructs the court officer to invite to TCW 1009 together with the duty counsel into the courtroom. But first, you have the floor now, counsel for Mr. Kilsampon.
Yes, Mr. President. I would like to ask for clarifications regarding what you have just ruled on. We are orally opposed to the co-prosecutor's motion and the appearance of the witness in regard to the statement. I still do not understand the reasons for your decision, and I would like to point out to the chamber that the K. Sampan defense team is against both the statement and the appearance of the witness in question.
President, although there is an objection, the chamber decided already that the two documents be admitted and the documents can be used to examine the upcoming witness. President. Good afternoon, Mr. Witness. What is your name? Answer. My name is Prum Sarat. President. Thank you, Mr. Momsarat. Do you recall when you were born? Answer. I was born on the 1st of March 1949. Question. Where were you born? Answer. I was born in Prechetir village, Bapnum commune, Angkor district, Kampot province. President. Thank you. And what about your current address? Where are you living now? Answer. I am living in Otrai village, Tatao commune, Samlo district, Battambang province. Question. What are your parents' names? Answer. My father's name is Prum Tong and my mother's Nyam Manyon, deceased. Question. What is your wife's name and how many children do you have? Answer. My wife's name is Wang Rim. We have 4 children together. Thank you, Mr. Promsarat. Based on the grave report, and to the best of your knowledge, you have no relationship by blood or by law to any of the 2 accused, that is Tunji and Kyo Sompon, or to any of the civil parties admitted in this case. Is that true? Answer. Yes, it is true. Question. Before your appearance here, have you already taken oath before the Iron Club statute to the ease of this courtroom already? Answer. Yes. I already took an oath before the Iron Club statute. President, I would like now to inform your rights and obligations as a witness before the chamber. Mr. Promsarat, as a witness in the proceedings before the chamber, you may refuse to respond to any question or to make any comment which may incriminate you, right, against self-incrimination. Your obligations. Mr. Promsarat, as a witness in the proceedings before the chamber, you must respond to any questions by the bench or relevant parties, except where your response or comment to those questions may incriminate you, as the chamber has just informed you of your rights as a witness. In addition to this, you must tell the truth that you have known, heard, seen, remembered, experienced, or observed directly about an event or occurrence relevant to the questions that the bench or parties pose to you. Mr. Promsarat, have you ever provided interviews or have you ever been interviewed by the investigator or investigators of the OCIJ? If they happened, how many times did they take place? Answer. Yes. I was interviewed by the interviewer in the field belonged to me in 2007. And later on, I came as a witness to testify on 25, and the hearing of testimony was concluded on the 29th, 2009. President, have you read or did you listen to the reading of the written records of interview that you provided to investigator of the ECCC to refresh your memory? Answer: yes, I read them already, and I also reviewed those documents. The documents or statements I gave 2 times. President, to your best of your recollection, do the written record of interviews that you have read correspond to your answers that you provided to the investigator? Answer: after my review and after my reading of those 2 documents, they are consistent with what I can recall in the period. President, thank you. On the basis of internal rule 91 bis of the ECCC, the chamber will give the floor first to the defense team for Mr. Nguyen Chia before other parties. The combined time for the 2 defense teams is 2 sessions. 1 session today and another session in 2 days morning. So you have the floor first. Counsel for Mr. Nguyen Chia.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Mr. Witness. I would like to ask you some questions this afternoon and tomorrow. Let me start by asking you to describe your military activities before 17 April 75. When did you join the revolution? Where did you join the revolution, etc.?
Answer: allow me to give a description of my occupation as a soldier before 1975. I entered the revolution on 6 September 1970, and I was part of Cambodia military.
Do you remember which division you were in within Kampot sector?
Answer: at that time, division was not formulated or organized yet, so I was part of the Kampot sector's military.
That is correct. Do you know when the Southwest forces in Kampot merged into a division? Do you remember when that was?
Answer: I cannot recall the exact date and month. What I can recall is that it was in 1979, said the witness. The Division 3 came into existence in that southwest zone.
I heard you say 1979. Do you mean before 1975, rather?
Answer: let me clarify the year once again. I left Kampot sector's military and then joined the military in the southwest zone when a division came into existence, it was in 1974.
Thank you. Do you remember who the commander was of Division 3?
Answer. The commander of Division 3 was Mir Mut.
I will speak to you about other commanders soon. Let me now go back to a particular moment in time. Do you remember your division being involved in the attack on Phnom Penh in April 75?
Answer. My division was engaged in the attack on the battlefield in Phnom Penh in 1975. It is true.
Were you yourself engaged in the attack? Were you engaged in the actual fighting, the actual conquering of Phnom Penh?
Answer. I myself was involved in it.
Can you explain very briefly what it was exactly that you were involved in? Which part of the fighting did you do, for instance?
Answer. Regarding my responsibility was to be engaged in the attack to the east of Thmat Pong. The place was called Mong Chen.
What was your rank at the time you, or your division rather, was attacking Phnom Penh? What were you? What was your rank?
Answer. At that time, I was the chief of a company.
And how many men were you commanding? How many combatants were under your leadership?
Answer. I supervised 100 soldiers at the time.
And do you recall how many companies, such as your company, were in the battalions, and how many battalions were in the regiments in the division?
Answer. To my recollection, within Division 3, there were 3 regiments within Division 3. Let me clarify. There were 3 regiments within one division, that is Division 3.
And there were 4 battalions in a regiment, is that correct?
Answer. To my recollection, 3 battalions made up one regiment.
And is it also correct that in your company there were 3 platoons?
There were 3 platoons within my company.
Did your company incur any casualties in the assault on Phnom Penh, the attack on Phnom Penh?
Answer. When we were attacking on the battlefield, and it was normal that soldiers were injured and died because of the battlefield on a daily basis.
Do you recall how many combatants in your company died during the attack of Phnom Penh?
Answer. At that time, I could not recall how many combatants died since it happened about 40 years ago already.
I understand, no problem. Let me now ask you a few questions specifically about the week or the days immediately following the 17th of April 75. Do you recall where you went once Phnom Penh had fallen, immediately after 17 April 75?
Answer. After Phnom Penh had fallen, I received instructions from the upper echelon to lead my company's combatant to Kampong Sam's battlefield. We were on foot at the time. We were walking from Kambol up until Viring, at which there were vehicles to transport us directly to Kampong Sam.
Is it correct that it took your company about 5 days to reach Kampong Som? You reached Kampong Som on the 22nd of April 75?
Answer. Yes, that is correct.
I would like to ask you something specific in relation to those 7 days between those 5 days between 17 April 1975 and 22 April 75. Do you recall whether, while traveling with your company to Kampong Som, there were any attacks from the Lon Nol army on your company?
Answer. During the journey of 5 years, said the witness, we were not attacked by the Lon Nol troops.
I presume you meant 5 days. But let me read something to you from your statement to DC Cam. Mr. President, that is E3/9113, English, page 17, or ERN 009744170, Khmer 009266353. There is no French translation. Question from the DC Cam investigator. So, whilst you were traveling to Kampong Som, were there not any attacks? And then you answer, we had a clash at Dau Kanchor because Dau Kanchor was not defeated yet. At that time, Norodom Chenrengzi was there. He did not raise a white flag yet because he had planned to travel to the sea. But during his trip, he hit a landmine whilst I was walking. I heard the sound of a landmine explosion, and I saw the soldiers raising white flag from the jungle as a sign that Norodom Chenrezig was injured. End of quote. Mr. Witness, do you recall having said that to the investigator of DC Camp?
Answer. Regarding that document, it is true that I gave such a statement to the DC camp.
I'm asking you questions about this particular 5 days for 2 reasons. The first reason is the words that you used, raising the white flag. Can you expand a little bit on that? What did you mean when you said he had not raised the white flag yet? And what does it mean if Lon Nol soldiers raise the white flag?
Answer. Let me clarify. Concerning Phnom Penh's battlefield, we could see the white flags everywhere in Phnom Penh. However, in the Doc and Jo, white flags were not raised yet at the time. When I reached Doc and Jo and then Kampong Sela, I heard the landmine explosion. I could hear it at the time. And half an hour later, I saw soldiers whom I did not know where they were from, and those soldiers were holding white flags, and they were walking to us together with the injured combatants. And upon my arrival, I saw the injured soldiers who were being carried, and I asked them who got injured from the explosion of landmine, and those soldiers replied that Norodom Chenrezig got injury from the explosion. Upon hearing this, I did not recognize and know who Chenrezig was, but before that time, rather, I had never known Chenrezig and had never seen him before, and it was that in that time that I started to know him. And later on, I asked the medics to wrap the wound for Chenrezig, and I told the soldiers together with Chenrezig to rest at the place where we met, since I and my soldiers had to move on to Kampong Sam.
You spoke about seeing white flags being raised by Lon Nol soldiers everywhere in Phnom Penh. Also, the white flag was raised in the area that you just described. Can you tell the trial chamber, please, what does it mean? What did it mean in April '75 when Lon Nol soldiers or military raised the white flag? What did that mean to you and your company?
Based on my knowledge, at that time when I saw the white flag being raised, it meant that the fighting between both sides came to an end.
And I understand, but what what was subsequently done with the Lonol military who had surrendered? Do you remember?
I do not understand your question.
Do you know what was supposed to happen with the Lonol soldiers who had raised the white flags? What was to be done to them? Do you recall?
To my understanding, when one side raised the flag, the other side understood from such a signal that the war came to an end.
Let me see if I can jog your memory a bit in this respect, Mr. Witness. Mr. President, I would like to read an excerpt from document E3/24. It is a WRI from a witness who has testified in case 002/01. It's Pipun. It is English ERN 00223581, Khmer 00204069, and French 00503921. Mr. Witness, Pipun testified the following. He's describing the events in Phnom Penh in April 75. And let me give you a little context so that you know what exactly he is saying. I entered Phnom Penh on 20 April 75 with Son Sen to look at the situation as assigned by Pol Pot. I saw that the people were leaving in every direction and all the targets had not yet left. Question: were there orders to seek out the enemy? Answer: no. To the contrary. At the time they told us that they feared or to be careful of forces hiding in the houses, even though the large forces had already been eliminated. Question: were there orders to seek out Lon Nol soldiers? Answer: no, because they had raised white flags already. There were clear instructions not to touch, impact them. During war on the battlefield that was different. Now they had surrendered to us and we need not touch them. Just welcome them and greet them and respond to the questions which they asked us. He said they were Cambodians like us. Don't touch them at all. Those were the words of Pol Pot. Mr. Witness, just to be complete, on 30 July 2012, the same witness was confronted with what he said earlier, and he said at around 1532, those soldiers were defeated, they surrendered. The white flag was hoisted or raised, so we did not do anything to harm them. People were advised strictly not to do any harm to those people who were defeated. End of quote. My question to you is, the testimony of this witness, Pipun, accurate when it comes to the treatment of Lon Nol soldiers who had raised the white flag?
Based on my understanding of the statement by witness Pibun, I think it is correct because at that time, especially my company did not have any plan to combat further, because the raising of the white flag signaled that the other side stopped fighting. So I agreed with what Pibun gave in the testimony.
Are you aware of any killing of Lon Nol soldiers who had surrendered either within your company or the battalions or regiments of Division 3?
When I traveled from Phnom Penh to Kampong Saum, my company did not touch any Lon Nol soldiers, even a single soldier. After 17 April 1975.
Are you aware of any killing of Lon Nol soldiers after the war had finished? For instance, killing of Lon Nol soldiers or officials in the second half of 75 or 1976?
Let me answer to your question. I only heard about it. But the hearing of this information was after I had fulfilled my mission, and when I trained at Kampong Saum.
Thank you, Mr. Witness. Now, one other question I had in relation to that excerpt from your DC Camp statement, and that is Norodom Chanrengzi. Was he a high-ranking commander, maybe even a brigadier general in the Lon Nol army?
I knew Norodom Chanrengzi during the Lon Nol regime. He was a general in Division 13 of the infantry force.
I have many questions about him, but I will limit myself to one. Do you know whether at the time, talking 1975, 1976, he had any connection to someone called Son Ngak Tan? Son Ngak Tan.
Let me answer. I do not know regarding the information you have just raised.
I understand. Have you yourself ever heard of Son Ngak Tan?
I heard his name, Sengok Thang.
And what was it that you heard other than his name?
I did not hear any other thing about him beside his name.
That's no problem, Mr. Witness. I will revisit him later, I think tomorrow, when I discuss the study sessions that you had with Son Sen. Let me now turn to Division 164. Is it correct that the Division 3 that you were company commander in at one point in time became the Navy Division, Division 164?
President, Mr. Witness, please hold on. The chamber gives the floor to the Deputy International Co-Prosecutor.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Your Honors. It seems to me that the question is not really appropriate. I heard, did Division 3 become Navy Division 164? I think he should rather say, did it become a central division within which there was the Navy? We could say, if I'm not mistaken, the Navy was a regiment within Division 164. So I think the question should be rephrased.
I have no problem. I think there's plenty of evidence to suggest that, but I'm happy to ask an open question. I was just speeding up things. Mr. Witness, did you at one point in time become a member of Division 164?
I can still recall that in June 1976, I'm sorry, it was in June 1975, my division became Division 164 of the Navy.
Mr. Witness, I think you were right when you just said that Division 164 was formed in June 67, because both in questions and answers 19 and 20 of your WRI, that is E319/23.3.54, you say that it was in June 76. Is it correct that Division 164 was one out of a number of divisions under Central Command, under the command of the Central Army?
I clarified this in my statement that I gave to the Searching for the Truth group of the chamber. I told the interviewer that there were 9,000 men.
Correct, I believe you said between 7,000 and 9,000. But was Division 164 one of 10 or maybe one of 15 central divisions? Do you recall?
In Division 164, it was under the command of the Central Army.
And do you remember in which regiment of Division 164 you were in as of June 76?
I was in Regiment 140 within the Division 164.
And do you recall where your base was? Where was Regiment 140 stationed?
Based on my recollection, Regiment 140 was based at its original place was at Ochetil, Kampong Saum.
You said that the total number of the Division 164 was between 7,000 and 9,000. There is evidence to suggest that in October 76 there were about 8,611 men total in Division 164. But do you recall how many men, combatants or non-combatants, were in Regiment 140, let's say in October 1976?
Regiment 140 had a total number of 1,400 men. When we started the regiment, we had 120 men who were trained in the Navy, and we got assistance from China.
And was Regiment 140 subdivided into battalions 42, 43, and 44? And you yourself were a member of Battalion 44?
Let me clarify. Within Regiment 140, there were battalions 41, 42, 43, and 44. I was within Battalion 44. Battalion 44, Company 2.
And were you the commander of Company 2 of Battalion 44?
I was the commander of Company 2.
In your WRI E319/23.3.54, in answer and question 25, you also state that from mid-76 to 79, Regiment 140 had 10 combat vessels, 10 patrol vessels, a tanker, and 4 minesweepers. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
One point of clarification, you said that you were the commander of Company 2, Battalion 44, Regiment 140. How many men then did you have under your command?
នៅក្រោមបញ្ជា
I had 110 men under my supervision.
The reason I'm asking you this question is because in your WRI, question and answer 55, you said that you at one point in time also became commander of vessel 1710, supervising 38 crew members. Are both correct, or is one position following the other?
I was supervising the vessels. We wrote the signs and identification for vessels from 1701 to 1710, and I was in charge of vessel 1710.
I understand, but were you also at the same time still a commander of Company 2, Battalion 44, and Regiment 140?
I was removed from Company 2 and sent to be in charge of the technical training as the commander of the naval force, and I had 38 crew members under my command.
I understand now. Just a last small question. Was that a promotion for you when you became the commander of vessel 1710?
When I was promoted as the supervisor of the vessel, so the promotion meant that I had the technical skills. That's why I was promoted from the commander of the infantry force to the vessel commander.
That's clear, thank you, Mr. Witness. Now let me ask you a question about the general composition of the Division 164. Do you recall whether there were also soldiers from the East Zone forming part of Division 164?
Answer. Regarding the soldiers who were sent to be part of the naval unit, there were around 700 soldiers which was once based in the East Zone.
Let me read back to you what you said on this respect, Mr. Witness. That is your DC Chem statement E3/91113. Oh, sorry, 9113. English page 22, ERN 009747175, and Khmer 0092635.
President, please slow down, Victor Kope, regarding the identity number of the document and also EON numbers. Please read them slowly.
Yes, I apologize, Mr. President. It's E3/9113. That's the DC Chem statement. It is English page 22. ERN 009747175. Khmer 0092635 it's a question about the Deputy Commander of Division 164, DIM. I will ask questions about him later. The question, did DIM come as chair of the division committee? You say yes. And then the question, so 700 Eastern soldiers were selected from Division 3700 and was Regiment 140 formed in 76? Yes. End of quote. Mr. Witness, you are saying here that in total 700 soldiers from the East Zone were selected from Division 3700. Is that correct?
Witness, could you clarify your question, please, since it is not clear to me? Could you repeat your question, please? I do not really understand it yet.
You confirmed that East Zone soldiers formed part of Division 164, and you seem to say that these 700 soldiers from the East Zone were selected from, quote-unquote, Division 3700 or Division 3700. Is that correct?
President, please hold on, Mr. Winner. You have the floor now, International Deputy Co-Prosecutor.
Thank you. I believe there is an error in the English document. It appears that it would be Division 3 and not Division 3000. The 700 has to do with the figure of soldiers from the East Zone. I believe there's confusion in the Khmer version, and we should refer to the English version, which appears to be more correct.
I don't think that is correct, Mr. President. Division 3 that was just discussed is a Southwest Zone division. That's where he was coming from. But I'm referring to East Zone soldiers. Apparently, according to the English translation, coming from East Zone Division 3700. I see the witness nod, so maybe I can continue. Mr. Witness, did these East Zone soldiers come from Division 3700 in the East Zone?
Answer. Let me clarify. There was no Division 3700 in the East Zone. In fact, there were 700 soldiers. No such number existed. So I disagree with that statement, since no such a number of division existed.
And that's my last question, because I think we're running out of time. But we are in agreement that 700 soldiers from the East Zone formed part of Division 164. That is correct, right?
Answer, yes, you're right. President, before we adjourn, I would like to clarify, to ask a question. I have a question for you, Council Kope, and Also for defense counsel for Mr. Kiew Sompon, I know that Kiew Sompon wanted to ask some question at the end of his testimony. So how do you coordinate the time among you two, the defense team?
That is indeed the case. I will continue tomorrow, and it's the wish of the Kyrgyzstan team to ask questions once the prosecution and the civil party lawyers are done.
President, thank you. It is now time for the adjournment, and the hearing will resume tomorrow, Tuesday, 26 January 2016 at 9 a.m. Tomorrow, the chamber will continue hearing the testimony of the witness from Sarat, and there is a reserve witness 2 TCW 849 in relation to the treatment of the target group, in particular Vietnamese. Please be informed and be on time. Thank you, Mr. Prum Sarat. The hearing of your testimony as a witness has not come to an end yet. You are therefore invited to come and testify once again tomorrow at 9 a.m. Thank you as well, Mr. Mung Sawan, the duty counsel. You are also invited to be here with the witness tomorrow at 9 a.m. Court officer, please work with the Westsu unit to send Mr. Promsarat to the place where he is staying at the moment, and please invite him back into the courtroom tomorrow at 9 a.m. Security personnel are instructed to bring Mr. Kilsampon and Nunjia back to the ECCC detention facility and have them returned tomorrow into the courtroom before 9 a.m. The court is now adjourned.